Hello and welcome. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll get you all the top stories from India and the region. I'm Gautam Roy. And for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague from London, Ollie Barrett. How's it going there, Ollie?
Hello Gautam, good to be with you. It's 12:30 p.m. just gone here in London, 1:30 p.m. across Central Europe. In the next half hour, we'll bring you the latest from Bangladesh, update you on the UK disorder and take you live to Tel Aviv. First, the headlines.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar briefs an all-party meeting on the Bangladesh developments, delivers statements in both houses of Parliament, says India remains deeply concerned till the situation there stabilizes. Bangladesh President dissolves Parliament, paving the way for interim government formation a day after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina quit and left the country. Her political rival Khalida Zia is freed from house arrest. Nearly 400 arrests, dozens of injuries after 6 days of riots in parts of England following the Southport stabbings. India's UK High Commission advises citizens to be cautious while travelling in the country. And India's Vinesh Fogart is through to the semi-final of the 50 kg wrestling freestyle at the Paris Olympics. And javelin ace Neeraj Chopra qualifies for the final with a throw of 89.34 meters. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has delivered a suo motu statement in the upper house of India's Parliament on the situation in Bangladesh. Speaking in the House, the minister said that after a meeting with leaders of security establishments, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina apparently made the decision to resign. He added that Hasina requested approval to come for the moment to India and that she arrived in New Delhi on Monday.
Our understanding is that after a meeting with leaders of the security establishment, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina apparently made the decision to resign. At very short notice, she requested approval to come for the moment to India. We simultaneously received a request for flight clearance from Bangladesh authorities. She arrived yesterday evening in Delhi.
Further addressing the issue concerning Indian nationals, Dr. Jaishankar said that there are an estimated 19,000 Indian nationals in Bangladesh, adding that the ministry is in close and continuous touch with the Indian community in Bangladesh through diplomatic missions.
We are in close and continuous touch with the Indian community in Bangladesh through our diplomatic missions. There are an estimated 19,000 Indian nationals there, of which about 9,000 are students. The bulk of the students, however, have already returned to India in the month of July. In terms of our diplomatic presence, in addition to the High Commission in Dhaka, we have assistant High Commissions in Chittagong, Rajshahi, Khulna and Sylhet. It is our expectation that the host government will provide the required security protection for these establishments. We look forward to their normal functioning once the situation stabilizes. We are in close and continuous.
And speaking about the status of the minorities in Bangladesh, he said that there are reports of initiatives by various groups and organizations to ensure their protection and well-being. The Indian minister had opened his statement by acknowledging good relations with Bangladesh and said that India and the country have been exceptionally close friends.
As honorable members are aware, India-Bangladesh relations have been exceptionally close for many decades over many governments. Concern about recent violence and instability there is shared across the political spectrum.
And in the latest, Bangladesh's parliament has been dissolved on Tuesday, a day after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and left the country following violent protests. Some normalcy returned to the capital, Dhaka, as the country awaits the formation of a new government. Earlier, the army chief had held talks with leaders of political parties to discuss about the way forward. President Mohammad Shahabuddin said an interim government will hold elections as soon as possible after consulting all parties and stakeholders. Meanwhile, people in Bangladesh are waiting to see what unfolds a day after Sheikh Hasina resigned and left the country. Let me now take you across to my colleague Amritpal Singh, joining us from the newsroom for more updates on what is really happening in Bangladesh. Amrit, hi. First, break down the External Affairs Minister's statement in both houses of Parliament for us in terms of India's concerns and how it's seeking to address them or to get them addressed by the authorities in Bangladesh.
Well, I think the External Affairs Minister in the House was essentially saying that there are 3 points that India has that are of concern with India. One is the political instability there. The other is the spillover effect into India. And third, the safety and security of the Indian nationals, the minorities in Bangladesh, the Hindu temples there, and also of the mission staff in both the High Commission in Dhaka and the 4 assistant High Commissions that he mentioned in the 4 different cities, Chittagong, Rajshahi, Sylhet, etc., and Khulna. So that's what, and he said that we are in close and continuous touch with the Bangladeshi authorities to ensure safety and security of our diplomatic staff, also, and the Indian High Commission is in touch with the Indian community. He put out numbers saying that total of 19,000 Indian nationals are in Bangladesh, of which 9,000 are students. Bulk of them have returned, some remain, but they are in constant touch, and their safety and security has been assured of by the Bangladeshi authorities. Then he spoke about, then he touched upon the safety of the minorities who are Bangladeshi nationals but are a minority, primarily Hindus, their businesses, their temples, places of worship. So I think that was the import of the External Affairs Minister's statement.
All right. And what is the situation today in Bangladesh? By when will an interim government be put in place? Because everything will then come from there. And what are you hearing about its composition?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Well, the efforts are on. The first step was to dissolve the parliament, as was decided in the meeting yesterday, and the statement by the president that they will dissolve the parliament, which has been, it was dissolved this afternoon. Now the next step is to form the interim government. They're holding hectic parleys for that. They've invited all stakeholders. Various names are doing rounds, both of political parties and people who are non-politicians. A former chief justice of the country, a very eminent professor of Dhaka University, who's actively sort of seeing, trying to diffuse the situation, trying to appeal to the students, Dr. Nazrul Islam, eminent jurists. So the hectic parleys are on. They are talking to all political parties. Interestingly, Awami League is one party which was not invited to the president's consultation. So we'll have to see that if Awami League, whether Awami League will be a part of the new dispensation or not, because today a state minister of the Awami League was trying to flee Bangladesh into India, and he was arrested at the airport. So things remain unclear whether it will just be opposition parties or whether it will be a totally non-political front. But the idea is to get an interim government in place. By when, we don't know, but the reports coming out of there are saying that they have to do it in matter of days, because that's the sort of urgency that exists there.
Yes, certainly to get a sense of order in the place, because right now we have the Police Association also saying that they'll go on a strike. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Amritpal Singh. Now, amidst the ongoing protests in Britain, the High Commission of India in London on Tuesday issued a travel advisory urging its citizens to exercise caution while travelling in the UK. The advisory read, and I quote, "Visitors from India are advised to stay vigilant and exercise due caution while travelling in the UK. It's advisable to follow local news and advisories and to avoid areas where protests are underway." It has also issued emergency email ID and helpline numbers, which is +44 020 7836 9147. You can see the other details on the screen as well. So the parts of United Kingdom have seen days of rioting and clashes. The Indian High Commission in London has also issued an advisory to its nationals. Ollie Barrett is in London and gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Now, Ollie, Keir Starmer was all about having the entire full force of the law or coming down on the rioters and the people who've been disturbing the peace. Just yesterday he talked about special forces. But why isn't it all this proving to be effective on the ground?
That's right, Gautam. He was talking yesterday about a so-called standing army of police officers who are specially trained in disorder. And when it comes to the full force of the law, I think the government still hopes that it will have an effect in the days ahead. But certainly we haven't reached a period of complete calm yet as a result of the government's response. In Belfast, overnight, we saw fires blazing on the streets of the city. There were issues in Plymouth and Birmingham too, in England. There have been around 400 arrests and dozens injured after 6 days of riots in parts of England and Northern Ireland. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says that violent protesters who targeted Muslim communities will face the full force of the law. Dozens of police officers have also been injured and shops, cars and homes damaged in the disorder. It initially erupted the day after 3 children were killed in Southport in a stabbing attack last Monday. Meanwhile, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been meeting with the Sultan of Oman, Haitham bin Tariq Al Saeed. The leaders had earlier spoken in a phone call back in July. According to the UK government, in these talks they agreed to closely work on ensuring stability in the Middle East, as well as expanding ties across defence, security and economic prosperity. A United Nations investigation has found that 9 employees from its main humanitarian agency in Gaza may have been involved in the October the 7th attack. They no longer work at the agency. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency has 13,000 staff members in Gaza. The investigation was launched in January after Israel accused some UNRWA employees of participating in the attack that left over 1,200 people dead in Israel. Some of the 9 were fired in January. Others were fired after new allegations were made this spring, according to a spokesperson for the UN Relief and Works Agency. Israel's military says UNRWA has hit a new level of low. Many governments, including top donor the United States, had suspended funding to the agency after the allegations. US President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have been briefed by their national security team on developments in West Asia, including threats posed by Iran and its proxies to American service personnel. At the briefing, they were told it's still unclear when Iran and Hezbollah might be likely to launch an attack against Israel and the specifics of such an attack. Iran blames Israel for the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and said it would punish it. Israel officials have not claimed responsibility for that killing. Iran's foreign ministry has called on the US to stop supporting Israel. G7 countries have urged all to refrain from perpetuating the destructive cycle of retaliatory violence and call for lowering of tensions and engaging constructively towards de-escalation. Iran says it seeks to establish stability in the region, but insists it will definitely take serious and deterrent action against Israel. Iran's foreign ministry has called in ambassadors and heads of missions residing in Tehran for a meeting with the acting foreign minister to reiterate Iran's will to respond to Israel. An emergency meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation is scheduled for Wednesday at Iran's request to discuss the killing of Haniyeh and Iran's potential response. The Lebanese armed group Hezbollah has said it launched a swarm of attack drones against military targets in northern Israel on Tuesday. Sources say that that was not the group's retaliation for the killing of the Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr in Beirut last week. Hezbollah has vowed to avenge him, prompting worries of a major escalation that could tip the region into full-blown war. And several countries, including the United States, the UK, France and South Korea, have issued advisories and evacuation orders urging citizens to leave Lebanon immediately. South Korea's foreign ministry strongly advises its nationals in Lebanon and Israel to leave as soon as possible. They will also issue a ban on its citizens travelling to border areas of Israel and Lebanon starting from Wednesday. Delta Airline has announced that it will suspend all flights from New York City to Tel Aviv for the remainder of August, extending a previous suspension that began last week. Germany's Lufthansa Group also says its carriers will be avoiding Iranian and Iraqi airspace through August the 7th. The group includes carriers such as Swiss International Airlines, Austrian Airlines and Eurowings, and it says that all flights to Tel Aviv, Tehran and Beirut have been suspended up to and including August the 12th. So tensions very much heightened, Gautam, in West Asia. Back to you.
Thanks, Oli. Let's hope things settle down after some time. Still to come on DD India Global. Japan marks the 79th anniversary of the Hiroshima bombings. And a US judge rules that Google acted illegally to crush its competition and maintain monopoly on online search.
We have with us shooter Arjun Baputa. You ended fourth in this edition of Paris Games. What do you have to say about your performance?
I just finished fourth and it is very close to the medal pace, but overall I try my best and I'm proud of it. I belong to a middle class family and it was very challenging for us to get all these expensive equipments and to maintain those expenses. I'm very thankful to Tops for all this, and it played a big role in my success.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I'm Gautam Roy. India's President Draupadi Murmu is on a state visit to Fiji, where Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka called on her in capital Suva. Both leaders held wide-ranging discussions and agreed to build upon the historic ties and strengthen partnership between the two countries. President Murmu and Fiji Prime Minister also presided over a ceremony for handing over of documents for allocation of project sites for High Commission of India Chancery and Indian Cultural Centre complex in Suva and a 100-bed super speciality hospital in Fiji's capital. India will host the first Bay of Bengal initiative for multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation business summit in the national capital on Tuesday. The business summit will be inaugurated by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, and other union ministers will deliver a keynote addresses. The first edition of the Business Summit aims to foster greater regional collaboration through robust trade and investment relations among the member countries of the BIMSTEC. The event will bring together more than 300 key stakeholders from across the Bay of Bengal region to facilitate economic collaboration and explore ways ahead in focus areas such as trade facilitation, regional connectivity, energy security, inclusive growth and sustainable development. The Indian Air Force is hosting the first phase of multinational air exercise Tarang Shakti starting today. The first phase is underway in the southern part of India at Sulur in Tamil Nadu. Now, this phase is witnessing the participation from air forces of Germany, France, Spain and the United Kingdom. The second phase will take place in Jodhpur in Rajasthan in September. The Indian Air Force has deployed Rafale, Tejas light combat aircraft, Sukhoi 30 MKI, Mirage 2000s, Mirage 2000s and Jaguar fighters along with helicopters such as Prachand Light. The German, Spanish and UK Air Forces will join with their Eurofighter Typhoon aircraft, while Australia, the UAE and the US will bring F-18 fighters. France's Air Force will participate with Rafale fighter aircraft. Search for missing persons in Wayanad landslides has continued till the 8th day now. The total confirmation of deaths is now standing at 226, while rescue teams have retrieved 181 other mortal remains. A thorough search will be conducted on both sides of the Chaliya River on Tuesday, with special focus on Sunrise Valley near Suchiparai Falls. There is still a small portion which remains inaccessible. Rescue persons will be airlifted to this area using choppers. In other areas, rescue groups will continue their search with the help of dog squads. Meanwhile, no rain alert has been issued anywhere in Kerala for Tuesday. State Government Employee Association has agreed to contribute 5 days' salary to Kerala CM Disaster Relief Fund to aid the Wayanad disaster victims. Early on Monday, mass cremation of unidentified 30 remains and 152 other mortal remains took place with prayers from priests in all religions. A US judge has ruled Google acted illegally to crush its competition and maintain a monopoly on online search and related advertising. The landmark decision on Monday is a major blow to Alphabet, Google's parent company, and could reshape how technology giants do business. Google was sued by the US Department of Justice in 2020 over its control of about 90% of the online search market. It is one of several lawsuits that have been filed against the big tech companies as US antitrust authorities attempt to strengthen competition in the industry. It's unclear yet what penalties Google and Alphabet will face as a result of this decision. The fines or other remedies will be decided in a future hearing. Japan on Tuesday marked the 79th anniversary of the atomic bombing on Hiroshima. A memorial service was held in Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park, attended by Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, Hiroshima Mayor Kazumi Matsui and others. Prime Minister Kishida called for a world free from nuclear weapons despite nuclear threats by Russia, making it even more challenging. About 50,000 participants, including ambassadors from 109 countries, sat at an outdoor memorial ceremony held at Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park. And now let's get you all that's been happening in the Paris Olympics. Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogart defeated Ukraine's Oksana Livash to advance into the semi-finals of the women's 50 kg at the Paris Olympics. Phogart is one win away from securing a medal for India. Phogart stunned world #1 and defending champion Yui Sasaki of Japan in the round of 16 before edging out Ukraine's Oksana Livash in the quarter-final match. It's a historic win for Vinesh as Sasaki won gold at Tokyo 2020 without conceding a point. This is the first time Sasaki lost a bout in an international competition. Defending Olympic champion and India's star Neeraj Chopra has qualified for the javelin throw final in the Paris Olympics 2024. He threw his javelin to a distance of 89.34 meters in Group B qualification. This is Neeraj's best ever throw at a global championship and his second best ever, 89.94 in the Diamond League at Stockholm. He qualified in his very first attempt. Youth in Vietnam are returning to the folk music exam. It's considered to purely be a Vietnamese art form. With efforts to revive the art form despite its many ups and downs, it's being learnt and performed as a professional entertainment activity in the capital city while creating a stable source of income for young artists. That's all we have in this edition of DD India Live, DD India Global, I beg your pardon, but let us know your thoughts on it today. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Global.